Greetings at Cheating Story Lab. A text message arrived, carrying no words, merely 3 images. Cassandra, dressed in a white lace wedding gown, her hand linked with another man's, a champagne toast before a just-married banner, and the sender identified. I stood frozen in our kitchen, the coffee pot still radiating warmth from the cup Cassandra had filled before embarking on her 36-hour business trip to Atlanta, intended for sealing an extension of her firm's largest client's contract. The images portrayed her at a refined event venue, immersed in flowers and fairy lights, wearing a dress that was hardly office-appropriate. The man by her side was Elliot Hammond, my former associate in business for 6 years before we dissolved our consulting firm 18 months ago, under terms I believed to be friendly. Seated at the kitchen table, I scrutinized each image closely. The time displayed indicated they had been taken the previous day, Saturday evening. The banner behind them read, "Cassandra and Elliot, a love story begins." Guests were dressed formally. There was a cake, string lights. It wasn't just any party, it was a wedding reception. My wife of 7 years had gotten married to another man. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted instead, asking for an immediate call. The message showed as delivered but not read. My hands were trembling, yet my mind was strangely focused. I required information before emotions overtook me, so I opened my laptop and accessed our shared bank account. There, a $2,000 charge from Thornhill Estate and Gardens appeared 10 days earlier. It had barely caught my attention amidst the usual transactions, but the memo line read, "Event deposit, final payment." I looked up the venue name online. It was in Asheville, North Carolina, 3 hours away from our home in Charlotte. Their website displayed elegant ballrooms, garden ceremony spaces, and wedding packages. Next, I checked her credit card statement. Over the past 8 months, I had access only to one account for household management. Charges I hadn't questioned before included Magnolia Bridal Boutique, $1,800, Winston Photography Studios, $3,000, Asheville Florals and Design, $2,200. Assuming they were gifts or future work expenses, I contacted Cassandra's younger sister Bryn for clarification. Upon answering, Bryn informed me that Cassandra is really sorry she sent those photos. Overwhelmed, she asked about the situation. After delaying it several times, Cassandra had intended to disclose this last month but never did. When I received an invitation to the reception this weekend, I made it clear that Cassandra must be truthful first if I were to participate. She claimed we had agreed to a quiet separation, and these expenses were her way of moving on. I didn't trust her claims, so I consulted my mom, who was unaware of any issues between you two. "We aren't having problems," I asserted. "At least not anymore. When did this begin?" It started last summer when she reconnected with Elliot at a conference within the same industry. By October, she told me they were serious. By February, she hinted at leaving you but wanted to exit gracefully. I continued to urge her for honesty. This weekend, when I saw her in that dress, I understood she wouldn't disclose this to you. She was just going to live 2 separate lives. I placed my palm on my forehead. "Is she actually married to him?" "No," she explained it as a commitment ceremony since she remains legally married to you. "But this seems like a wedding in all aspects except the official documents. Guests believe it's legitimate. His family thinks it's real. She's wearing his ring." "Where is she now?" "They are staying at the resort until Monday. There's a farewell brunch scheduled for tomorrow morning before guests depart." I rose and moved towards the bedroom, found her closet partly empty compared to my recollection, her jewelry box on the vanity missing, minor details overlooked due to lack of reason to search. She seemed to be departing gradually. "Bryn, I require your assistance," I stated. "If Queerid maintain that you never dispatched those images, ensure you're safeguarded from whatever's approaching. What are your plans?" "I'm uncertain at this moment, but I need proof." "Can you photograph the event area today, the guest list if accessible, anything with her name and Elliot's together?" She hesitated. "She is my sibling. She's involved in fraud, potentially bigamy, depending on what she consented to. She's misused matrimonial assets for funding this. Moreover, she's embarrassing you too. You become an accessory to her deceptions by your presence." "Hush. Then I'll forward whatever information I can gather." I ended the call and promptly dialed my attorney, Gregory Vance. We had collaborated when Elliot and I ended our business alliance. He inquired about my predicament, even though it was Sunday morning, saying, "Tyler, what's the matter?" I shared all the details with him. He listened attentively without interruption. Upon hearing me out, he breathed out slowly. Firstly, he asked if I was certain about ending things immediately or preferred to dig deeper for more evidence. He expressed concern that she should be held accountable in front of everyone who perceives this as acceptable. Then we need a strategy. Since North Carolina does not acknowledge common law marriage unless she has filed a marriage license, which she can't due to her current marriage, the ceremony holds no legal ground. However, the financial fraud and emotional distress are genuine, and if Elliot or assets have been shared between us, we can bring alienation of affection and criminal conversation charges. My jaw tensed. I wasn't aware those were still applicable. They are in North Carolina, albeit seldom used but appropriate under these circumstances. I was instructed to record every detail. Gather bank statements, location data, communications if accessible. Refrain from confronting until a comprehensive understanding is established. Can you accomplish this? Additionally, I intend to attend the brunch gathering the following day as her husband and to publicly unveil her true nature to everyone present. Once done discreetly, without resorting to threats or violence, ensure there's a witness and everything is legally documented. Let her confront reality in front of her guests before we submit documents on Monday morning. I spent Sunday preparing my evidence. Photos arrived from Bryn, showing the reception hall with Cassandra and Elliot signage, guest tables with personalized cards, a gift table filled with wrapped boxes. She also forwarded the invitation she received for the wedding celebration of Cassandra Reeves and Elliot Hammond, made of embossed cardstock. My wife still uses her maiden name for this event. I gathered all our financial records from the past year. The wedding-related expenses like the venue, dress, photographer, and florist were charged either jointly or on her credit card that I covered every month as part of our agreement. However, upon scrutiny, I discovered she had spent over $30,000 of marital funds on a sham wedding with another man. I checked the location history on our family phone plan and found that 3 weeks ago, her location was turned off, but the records showed multiple visits to Asheville since January, which coincided with charges from hotels, restaurants, and event vendors in that city. In our home office, I found her iPad. She had left it behind without erasing its contents. Upon opening the Messages app, I stumbled upon months of conversations between her and Elliot, discussing details of the ceremony, selecting friends to invite, and coordinating his family's travel. In a June exchange, he wrote, "Should I be worried about Tyler?" She replied, "He won't find out until I'm ready to tell him. He trusts me completely." As I held the tablet tightly, her words rang true. He indeed wouldn't suspect anything until she chose to reveal it. I had placed my full trust in her, but by midnight I had amassed a folder of printed bank statements with marked expenses, photos from Bryn, screenshots of Cassandra's texts with Elliot, and an invitation to a reception. Additionally, I had prepared Gregory's drafted demand letter. The following Monday at 9, I drove to Asheville, accompanied by my brother Luke. Although he wished to confront Cassandra himself upon hearing the news, I needed him as a witness rather than a participant. He sat silently beside me, Gisette. The Thornhill estate was as elegant as its website suggested, a vast property with immaculate gardens, and a grand house that resembled a Jane Austen novel setting. I parked near the entrance to the grand ballroom where a sign read Private Event, Hammondreeves Brunch at 10:00 a.m. Luke turned to me, "Are you ready?" "I am." We entered through the double doors into a room bathed in sunlight with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. Approximately 40 individuals occupied round tables, each holding a champagne flute. At the head table, Cassandra and Elliot, both formally attired, he in navy suit, she in cream-colored cocktail dress, shared laughter with an older pair who were identified as Elliot's parents. As I approached unnoticed by the room, I was recognized first by Cassandra, causing a paleness to wash over her face. Elliot stood quickly upon noticing my presence, his chair screeching back. "Tyler," Cassandra murmured. "What are you?" I placed a folder on the table in front of her. "I'm gate-crashing your honeymoon brunch." The room fell silent, with every gaze shifting our way, and Cassandra's voice hushed to a whisper. "You need to depart immediately. I don't believe I wish to." I retrieved the first document from the folder, a bank statement, and displayed it, pointing out a charge of $2,000 made to this venue and $1,800 to Magnolia Bridal. $3,000 from our marital funds were given to Winston Photography for your fake wedding with Elliot, I stated, spreading the cash like playing cards over the table. Elliot's mother gasped, and a woman at a nearby table whispered, "What is he talking about?" Cassandra stood up, her hands trembling. "Tyler, this is humiliating. We can discuss this privately." "No, you've had 8 months to discuss this privately. You chose secrecy." I turned to the room. "I am Tyler McKenna, Cassandra's husband, and we have been legally married for 7 years. As of now, we remain married." The murmurs increased. Elliot stepped forward. "This is harassment." I'm calling security. Please do, I replied. I pulled out my phone, displaying it to the room. I have North Carolina's recording consent, and everything said here can be used as evidence. I looked at Cassandra. Do you wish to explain, or should I? Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of panic. You're destroying everything. No, I'm unveiling the truth. I produced a stack of printed screenshots showing her messages with Elliot about their secret wedding plans while deceiving me about business trips. I offered one from June and another from July. The venue was booked. I told Tyler I was in Atlanta for client meetings. I passed them to a woman at the nearby table. Take a look. Everyone should see what they're really celebrating. Cassandra attempted to seize the papers, but I had already shared enough copies. Guests started reading, their faces changing from perplexity to astonishment. Elliot's father rose, his face flushing. Elliot, what's this? Elliot sounded shaken. Dad, he's misrepresenting the facts. I'm not twisting anything. I produced the last document, the wedding invitation Bryn had forwarded to me, revealing Cassandra's maiden name, Reeves. Cassandra had not legally used her previous name since our marriage, yet she portrayed herself as single for her planning. In a desperate tone, she said, Cassandra's. Her voice rose. We were separated. We had an understanding. I countered. You had a plan. I thought our marriage was still together. I faced her directly. I returned home daily to find my wife giving me a goodbye kiss before her trips. I paid bills that included expenses for your wedding dress. I believed you when you spoke of closing deals in Atlanta. I put my trust entirely in you. Her shoulders drooped as several guests rose to leave. Elliot's mother was weeping, and Bryn sat at a distant table, her face hidden by her hands. In a lifeless voice, Elliot broke the silence. Cassandra told me that the two of you were separated last year, and that you were just waiting for the perfect moment to file for divorce. She deceived both of us. I turned back to Cassandra. Here's what transpires next. My lawyer will be filing for divorce this afternoon, listing adultery and fraud as the reasons. We're filing charges for criminal conversation and alienation of affection against Elliot. Every penny you spent here will be recovered in the settlement, and everyone present now knows your identity. Cassandra slumped in her chair, hiding her face behind her hands. The room was still except for the chairs moving as more people left. Elliot's father approached me quietly. I'm sorry we were unaware. I believe you. I looked at Luke. We're finished here. In the hallway later, Bryn caught up to us. Thank you for not implicating me. You did what was right. It took courage. She nodded and went back inside. Silence filled the car as Luke and I drove home. By Monday night, Gregory had filed for divorce and civil suits against Elliot. By Tuesday, our social circle knew of it, along with Cassandra's colleagues, mutual friends, and my former business partners. Everyone uniformly backed me as they were dismayed by her. On Wednesday, while I was at work, Cassandra removed the rest of her belongings from our house, leaving only her keys on the kitchen counter. The divorce lasted 8 months. At first, Cassandra contested everything, attempting to assert that the wedding costs were personal gifts she'd been given with my tacit approval due to lack of monitoring over her expenditures. However, the judge wasn't swayed. He granted me complete reimbursement for the false charges, half of all joint assets and legal fees. The accusation of criminal conversation against Elliot was settled out of court for $75,000. The most gratifying moment occurred during a hearing when Cassandra's attorney argued that I had humiliated her by exposing her publicly. Gregory stood up and said, Your Honor, my client didn't humiliate her. He exposed her. There is a difference. The judge concurred. Cassandra and Elliot's relationship did not endure the lawsuits. 2. A universal sense of approval surrounded me due to my appalled state towards her. Cassandra cleared out her remaining possessions from our home on Wednesday when I was away at work. She left her keys on the kitchen counter and nothing else. Our divorce took 8 months. Initially, Cassandra disputed everything, claiming the wedding expenses were gifts she'd self-approved since I hadn't kept track of her spending. The judge dismissed this argument. He ordered full reimbursement for the fraudulent charges, half of all marital assets, my legal fees, and a portion of joint assets. A claim of criminal conversation against Elliot was settled out of court for $75,000. The most fulfilling instant came during a hearing when Cassandra's attorney argued that I had humiliated her by bringing her wrongdoings to light. However, Gregory stood and declared, Your Honor, my client didn't humiliate her. He exposed her. There is a distinction. The judge supported this statement. Sadly, Cassandra and Elliot's relationship did not survive the legal battles. 3. In response to my shocked reaction towards her, everyone showed support. On Wednesday, while I was at work, Cassandra packed up her belongings from our house, leaving only her keys on the kitchen counter. The divorce lasted 8 months. At first, Cassandra challenged everything, attempting to prove that the wedding expenses were gifts she'd granted herself based on my tolerance of her spending habits. However, the judge didn't find this convincing. He ordered me to be reimbursed for the fraudulent charges, half of all marital assets and legal fees. The claim of criminal conversation against Elliot was settled out of court for $75,000. The most enjoyable moment arose during a hearing when Cassandra's attorney argued that I had humiliated her by exposing her transgressions. But Gregory stood to explain, "Your Honor, my client didn't humiliate her. He revealed her. There's a distinction." The judge concurred with this assertion. Unfortunate as it may be, Cassandra and Elliot's relationship did not endure the lawsuits. 3 months following the incident at the brunch, Bryn stated they separated. Elliot accused Cassandra of falsifying our marital status, while Cassandra countered that he should have confirmed it himself. I perceived their accusations against me as validation that I had acted correctly in exposing them. I retained the house, restored my savings, and resumed running, an activity I had neglected during the marriage. I sought a therapist's help to cope with the betrayal, which turned out to be more beneficial than anticipated. A year post-brunch, I encountered one of the guests at a Charlotte coffee shop. She instantly recognized me and approached warily. "I felt compelled to tell you," she said, "that your actions required immense courage. My sister experienced a similar situation, only finding out after her spouse had depleted their funds. You spared yourself from enduring greater suffering." "Thank you," I replied. "Your words hold significant value," she acknowledged. "In hindsight, I left that brunch and informed my husband of everything. Since then, our communication has been more truthful. Occasionally, difficult situations lead to positive transformations." For weeks, I pondered over that discussion. She was correct. The betrayal of Cassandra had ended my marriage, yet it liberated me from a bond based on lies which I was too trusting to recognize. The mortification of the brunch incident, entering a room filled with strangers and uncovering my wife's secret life, seemed intolerable at first. However, in retrospect, it was the moment I opted for truth over convenience. Now 2 years have passed, and I find myself in a healthier state than I have been in a decade. I established a new consulting firm with no partner, solely relying on my skills and clients who appreciate honesty. I resumed connections with friends long neglected during my marriage. I ventured to places Cassandra had always disapproved of. I constructed a life that's less expansive but entirely mine. Last month, Bryn informed me that Cassandra had relocated to Denver and was working in another sector. She requested Bryn to keep information about me confidential, which was convenient for me. I harbor no curiosity about her life except for keeping it separate from mine. Occasionally, people question if I regret the approach I took during the altercation. If I were to act otherwise, my response remains unchanged. Cassandra had 8 months to disclose the truth to me. Instead, she opted for deceit at every juncture. I, on the other hand, opted for openness. The secret wedding photos that she intended to conceal are now exhibits in a closed legal case. The ceremony designed to celebrate her new life turned out to be its downfall. The attendees who gathered to toast her joy discovered they had been part of a sham, and me? I entered the ballroom as a deceived husband and exited as someone unwilling to fade away silently. This isn't revenge, it's self-respect. If there's a lesson here, it's straightforward. Trust is earned through reliability, not assurances. Love necessitates honesty, not theatrical performances. If someone reveals their true nature, regardless of the context, like a false wedding invitation, trust them. I trusted Cassandra when she bid me farewell earlier, and I trust her now as well with her business trips. In the grand ballroom filled with flowers and deception, she unveiled herself to me, and I chose to leave both.